hello and welcome to our webinar, Strong Farmer Organizations, Strong Smallholder Families, here in the worldwide internet, live and direct to your desk. Welcome to have you here. It's a pleasure to see you. Well, as usual, people are still coming in the first minutes. So yeah, while people log in, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Jesko Johansson. I'm responsible for the global communications at Hans-Herr-Neumann Stiftung. And I'd also like to welcome Gabriela Tigum. She's joining us today from Guatemala as our second host for the webinar. And given the time zones, I have to say good morning, Gabi.
Hello, everyone. I'm Gabi Tigum, and I support with regional communications for HRNS in Central America. And I am thrilled to be here and welcome you all of today.
Yes, thank you. Welcome. So now I would like to invite our guests today to switch on their cameras as well. Marcos there, Utopia is there, Morgan, hi. So yeah, we have three special guests, two joining us from Tanzania today. So we are trying to span the whole globe, and one is joining us right here also from our central office in Hamburg. So first of all, we start with Morgan Mkoni, who is the Chief Operations Officer and Deputy Country Manager for HRNS in Tanzania. Good afternoon, Morgan.
Good afternoon, Jesko. Hi,
and then, yes, and then we have also Utopia Ngido with us. She's a project evaluator for FCG Sweden based in Tanzania. Hello, good afternoon, Utopia. Oh, Utopia, you are currently muted. So while she's looking for the button, we also welcome Marco Kruse, who is a Program and Partnership Manager at HRNS here in Hamburg. Hello, Marco.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Jesko. Good afternoon.
Hi, Utopia also. Now
yes,
we can hear you.
Good afternoon.
Yes,
good afternoon.
Great to hear you. Okay, before we begin, I would like to encourage you to send in questions. So you have the Q&A button in your screen. And yeah, we are looking forward to responding to them. You can either disclose your name, then I expect that you also are ready to hear it online. Otherwise, you can send them anonymous in. We are looking forward to answer them. And also as a general note, we of course make the recording of this webinar available after this webinar. It will be shared with you via email. So we have a full agenda today. To start off, we would like to have a brief introduction into HRNS and FCG. And then we will have a presentation of what the CFAT program is all about to really understand where the program's results should go to and what FCG and the HRNS M&E department found out about it. And finally, then we want to learn more about what these results tell us and what can be learned and what are the next steps. So lots to do. I think yeah, that's the best point to begin directly. And I would like to start with Marco here today to give us a brief introduction into HRNS. Please, Marco.
Thank you, Jesko. With pleasure. And once again, welcome to everyone. Hans-Herr-Neumann Stiftung, or short HRNS, was founded by Michael R. Neumann and his family in 2005. HRNS follows three main objectives. Namely to improve the social situation of people in developing countries, promoting the protection of nature and the environment, and to promote youth welfare and education. Currently, HRNS employs about 270 people and is active in 8 countries. While our headquarters is based in Hamburg, Germany, we implement projects in Honduras, Guatemala, Brazil, Indonesia, Ethiopia, Uganda, and in Tanzania. This is a strategic selection of countries in which we are committed to a long-term engagement with our work. HRNS operates as an independent non-profit organization with a board of trustees whose independence is key in developing and guiding our work. Yes, next slide, please. Okay. So the focus on smallholder families. Around 12.4 million families worldwide depend on coffee for their livelihoods. Many more engage in the processes along the coffee value chain. Most of these families live in poverty and face numerous challenges, such as lack of agricultural knowledge, access to finance, access to inputs in markets, or technology. We believe that these families hold significant potential to be the drivers of thriving communities. And so far we have reached more than 300,000 of them, including 14,000 youth in 18 coffee producing countries through our work. But our work goes beyond coffee production. We support smallholder families to take a proactive role in shaping their lives in an informed and self-determined way, sustainably improving their livelihoods. With our holistic approach here shown in our theory of change, we combine the development of advanced agricultural practice, appropriate farm and household management strategies, adaptation to climate change, and the organizational development of member-driven farmer organizations. We promote intergenerational dialogue and change and support young people to take informed decisions about their livelihoods. And as a cross-cutting issue, gender equality is a fundamental aspect of all of these four components and is mainstreamed across our work and within the organization.
Perfect. Thank you, Marco, for this brief introduction and summarizing HRNS in a nutshell. I would now like to hand it over to Eutropia, who is currently working for the Swedish consultancy FCG in Tanzania, to give us an overview of what FCG is and what her role as part of the evaluation has been. Go ahead, Eutropia, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. As you said, FCG is a Swedish consultants company. It has a number of employees who are full-time, others part-time, and it has also those who are working as associates, and I'm one of them. And some associates, they are based in different countries. The areas which FCG is working on is multi-stakeholders or sectors. It covers civil society development, good governance, water and natural resource management, public administration, market management, PME, fund management, and a lot of others. But in all, we do with the human rights and gender and youth perspective. So for this particular assignment, we had 6 people, 4 working on the field and 2 were on in Sweden, and they were behind the scene. So I will start with our team leader, who was Bjorn Tenstrom, who has extensive experience in international cooperation. And he has a lot of experience in capacity building and planning, monitoring, and evaluation. We also have Japhet Makongo, who is an active member in civil society movement in Tanzania. And he's very conversant with good governance and relationship between civil society and local government and national level government. And we had also a colleague who is called Hebron Mwakalinga. This was our value chain analyst specialist. And we had me, who is experienced in PME, planning, monitoring, and evaluation, and gender mainstreaming. Behind the scene, we had Derek, who was the quality assurer, and evaluation manager was a lady called Sophia. And that was FCG for this particular assignment.
Thank you, Eutropia. So now that we know more about HRNS and FCG, I'm going to please ask Morgan, who was the program manager of CFAD, to please provide some general facts about the CFAD program and also introduce us a little bit to the program approach and main interventions before we dive deep into the evaluation and program results.
Thank you, Gabi. Yeah, so the Coffee Farmer Alliance of Tanzania program was implemented by HRNS in the northern part of Tanzania, specifically in the regions of Arusha and Kilimanjaro, but also in the southern part of Tanzania, specifically in the regions of Mbeya and Songwe. And this program was actually implemented since 2013 until 2020. And the main objective of this program was actually to improve the livelihoods of coffee farming households by empowering the farmers via the established member-driven and professional farm organizations. to improve their competitiveness and also increase production and quality through the sustainable use of natural and household resources. So in total, the program covered more than 26,000 coffee farming households. This represents 105% of the target, which means that we exceeded the target by 5%. So this program was actually funded by about 10 funding partners, as you can see them on the slide. And some of these partners supported the program for both phases, phase 1 and phase 2, but some of them supported only one phase. Next slide, please. Yes, the program combined about 6 interventions, and these were as follows. To start with formation and strengthening of farmer organizations. So here, the program facilitated the formation and strengthening of business-oriented and member-driven and democratic farm organizations. So basically, these were the producer organizations, the smaller farmer groups with an average of 30 members per group, but also the cooperative societies, specifically the agricultural marketing cooperative societies. So they were supported as transparent and professional service providers to their members. Another key intervention was enabling farmers to sustainably improve their coffee and food crop production. So here the program actually aimed at enabling farmers to improve their farm management significantly while enhancing crop quality. This is through improved practices, management, and control. Another key intervention was marketing and service linkages. So here the program supported project beneficiaries to improve the overall marketing performance of farm organizations through value addition, efficient linkages to financial institutions, marketing agencies, exporters, and also international traders. The other intervention was sustainable use of household and natural resources. So here the program actually implemented activities that contributed to the protection of natural resources and also address the challenges associated with climate change and protection of biodiversity. We also had gender inclusion. So here the program promoted participation of all members of supported households to benefit equitably from cash and food crop production and marketing, thereby achieving sustainable household development. The last intervention was to support youth to achieve a viable economic future. So here young people were actually supported to gain skills and find meaningful employment in a more modernized and dynamic, productive, and profitable agriculture sector. Basically, youth from the beneficiary households were supported to gain entrepreneurship and also business skills so as to be able to identify business opportunities in different agriculture value chains. Thank you.
Thank you, Morgan. Now that we've been introduced to what the program was about and what the main interventions were, I think the key question now becomes what the program actually triggered to really dive deep into an evaluation. So for this, I'm gonna first ask Eutropia. I'd like to hear from her on what FCG found out as the main results.
Okay, thank you very much again for giving me this opportunity to share our main findings when we did the evaluation for the strategic plan of HRNS. First of all, I would like to start with the methodology we used. We had literature review where we used mostly the M&E documents, which were very good, very well documented. And we had also consultation with multitude of stakeholders where we did interviews and discussions. But it is also important for us to mention that we used 3 different frameworks in conducting the evaluation, in also doing the analysis. In conducting, we used a utilization-focused approach, which insists on utilization of the findings. So we have to look for the main users of the findings and make them part and parcel of the process. So in this case, we had a prior discussion with them. What would you like to hear? What would be useful? And that is how we approached the whole thing. We had several steps, and in most steps they were included, including some visits and discussions at different levels. But we also used value chain analysis because we recognized that the approach of HRNIS was not only supporting one part of the value chain. So there was also some facilitation on the production and market. So we also combined primary and support activities in our analysis. And we wanted to also discuss with the stakeholders who are involved in the main functions and also those who, what are their structural connections, and analyze their dynamics in the value chain. But we also used a multi-dimension poverty analysis where we were also looking at different contexts like political context, economic, socioeconomic context, environmental context, and conflict and peace. And the idea here was to draw how HRNS in their interventions supported or were confronted or challenged by human security, but to what extent they brought resources to the community, power and voice, and also opportunity and choices. So those were the frameworks we used in our analysis. So our main findings, we clustered them in different DAC criteria because that was part of the terms of reference that we give our main conclusions based on the DAC criteria. And one of the criteria was effectiveness, which is looking on to what extent the organization has managed to achieve the targets set and what they pledged they will do. And just to mention few areas for us, which we took as evidence to conclude that the effectiveness was good or was achieved, we saw that farmers were trained on good agricultural practices and smart, climate smart farming systems. This led to improved agricultural practices. So for us, we saw the link of activities and also the preliminary outcomes. There was also activities for institutional capacity strengthening, which we saw that they yielded to formation of farmers groups, but also production groups and also depot committees. And this was a difference between South and North, that they had different groups in their formation. For South, it was depot committees, but in the North, we see that there was producer organizations. And I think here, Morgan has already mentioned the agricultural and marketing cooperatives. We, of course, observed that despite the achievements at farmers level, but the attempt to make a national apex failed, but that did not demolish all the foundations which was formed at farmers level. The evidence we also picked was increased interaction between farmers and other stakeholders. And this is somehow a new development that farmers, they have to interact more with the private sectors, those who are providing services. And in the past, the extension services were offered only by the government, but now increasingly the private sector is involved. And we see that HRNIs, they manage to make this interaction happen, and farmers, they have developed a relationship with the private sector. We also observed that there was a pilot project on gender and youth. And for us, we saw that the gender project was very successful. We saw some elements of gender equity being achieved. Women were happy, they are participating in various activities, men are also participating, and women are happy that they are they are owning and managing some resources in the household. And the household approach, to be fair, it was the very excellent approach which supported all the interventions of HRNIS. And we saw that there was entrepreneurship development of youth, and the approach which was taken for us, it has stimulated a lot appetite of youth in agriculture, which had already been gone, because from youth, they took agriculture as something which is not giving them income. But with the interactions with HRNIS, we saw that the appetite is coming back. The other criteria we looked at is efficiency, and we did not have a good opportunity to look at the money spent versus output because it was difficult to calculate that, but we looked some aspects which gave us an indication that at least there was efficiency in terms of time and how decisions were made. And this was backed by the M&E system, which was giving them flash where they needed to take a decision, and the decisions were made timely, and HRNIs were very flexible in terms of taking remedial action where it was needed. The other evidence was the financial control which HRNIs has engaged, and this has resulted to clean audit reports over time. But we also saw another element of efficiency, that having field officers at farmers level, and most of them belonging to the farmers themselves or coming from the farmers themselves, was an efficient way of using resources instead of having extension officers based in headquarters. The other element we looked at was the sustainability. And for us, the evidence was the institutional strengthening, the producer groups, the AMCOs. This for us was promising sustainability, because farmers organizations are strong and they have started to take some measures. They have taken some of the responsibilities on their own. The adaptation of good agricultural practices and climate smart farming system for us was also an indication that this is building up on sustainability of the agriculture system. The other evidence we saw that from the field was increased resource at household level. For us, if the resources will be there, it is sustainable, because farmers will be able to continue with their activities and they will maintain the standard which has been achieved when they are working with HRNIs. The other evidence on sustainability was improved household resilience through crop diversification. This was a good move, that at least farmers are not dependent on one crop. So this diversification is giving them enough space for becoming more sustainable. Maybe this is my, no, I have two more. Impact was another criteria we looked at, and we cannot say we have achieved impact 100%, but we are saying there is a strong evidence that there is improved income at household level, and for us, this is an indication that the interventions had impact on farmers. There was also evidence that there is increased coffee production and increased quality of coffee. So this is also an impact, which we saw that it is something which will has contributed to the agricultural. If we take the agricultural policy, these interventions have improved the production and quality, so it has impact. And the last evidence which I pulled, there were many evidences, but I just pulled some examples, is that there is improved agricultural practices, which are aimed at both production and less environmental damage. So for us, the environment was the contribution to the environment is a score to the impact, because the environmental issues are taking a different direction now. And we saw that this the projects of HNRS have contributed to the environment. The last criteria we looked at was relevance. And we saw that when we checked the objectives of the CFAT project and different interventions of HRNS, they comply very well, or they attributed to the agricultural strategy development. So it has a lot of relevance at national level, and it has a lot of relevance also at community level, because when we saw the needs which the farmers are expressing in their aspirations, they were addressed. So this project had a lot of relevance at farmers level. So in short, that is what we can say. We had, the report is long. So if you are interested, you are most welcome to read the full report.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eutropia. So in addition to the results presented by Eutropia, there were other results, program results, that were also collected by HRNS's M&E system. Morgan, can you provide insight as to what these results were, please?
Yes, please allow me to present to you the program results based on the HRNS M&E system. And actually these results have been clustered according to the program components as presented by Marco earlier. So to start with family business, the share of households below the poverty line actually declined from 33% in 2016 to 18% in 2020. And I think this was because the supported households managed to increase their coffee production and also food crop production, and then increase their income, but also they were able to diversify their income through starting other businesses such as beekeeping, poultry, etc. But also the percentage of households facing a hungry season also declined from 21% in 2016 to 16% in 2020. Next slide. Yeah, under the gender and youth, we had about 6,199 households being reached by the gender household approach. So the gender household approach is basically an approach that promotes agricultural production as a family business to ensure that household members equally benefit from coffee and food crop production. But also we had about 253 gender change agents being trained. So the gender change agents were actually like farmer extensionists who were responsible to promote gender equality within their communities. The share of female members with a leadership function in a farmer group also increased from 19% in 2016 to 29% in 2020. And this was the result of gender mainstreaming activities in the farm organization structures. Then we were able to train 390 youth on business skills development, gender sensitivity, and also mentorship. And out of these, 146 were able to develop business plans, but also to start their own businesses. Next slide. Yes, so another component that was farm organizations. So we were able to support 91 AMCOS, the Agricultural Marketing Cooperative Societies, but also the program was able to establish and support 746 village-based farm organizations. These were basically the small farmer groups with an average of 30 members per group under the umbrella of the AMCOS. But also area under coffee increased from 19,727 hectares in 2016 to 21,017 hectares in 2020. And again, the green bean coffee volumes handled by the supported AMCOS increased. This was from 683 tons in 2016 to 4,000 tons in 2019. Next slide, please. Yes, please meet Tobias and Luti. This is such a very beautiful couple. So this couple actually lives in a very remote area called Isansa village in Mbozi district in the southern part of Tanzania. So they own about 4 acres of land with 2,500 coffee trees. Before joining the project, actually they had financial illiteracy, uneven distribution of household and business tasks in the household. They also had marital problems. This was due to lack of communication and poor farm management. But in 2013, Tobias actually joined Kahawa and Mali Farmer Group, which was supported by HRNS under the CFAT program. And Tobias and Ruti actually took part in the Gender Household Approach pilot project, which was implemented under the CFAT program from 2016 to 2018. So after joining the program and go through a number of trainings, Tobias and Ruti started to experience positive changes in their livelihood situation. So for example, they improved the intra-household gender relations. They were able to create a joint household vision, including a co-decision making, budget plans, and shared business goals. Actually, there was even distribution of resources and responsibilities within the household and the coffee farm, but also there was financial transparency between them. Tobias and Luti actually managed to build a new home, a very nice house, with the income they earned and saved. And this was part of their joint household vision to build a new house. So Tobias and Ruti, they were also selected as change agents. So they were able to disseminate the gender knowledge experiences to the other community members. So next slide, please. Yes. So as you can see on the picture, that is Tobias and Luti, and Tobias is actually helping his wife to wash the dishes, which is something that he could not do before going through the gender household approach trainings. And this is due to the gender stereotypes that existed in their community. And actually this shows that how strong and impactful the gender household approach is. Yeah,
okay,
thank you.
Morten. Yes, thank you very much. Fantastic story from Tobias and Luti. I want to come to visit you now and see them live as we speak. So, maybe I also do my own dishes then if they invite me for dinner, maybe. So I promise. Yes. But getting to know people like Tobias and Luti, it really helps to give these insights also a picture and to understand how this transformation through the CFAT program really works. And but also they are just one of 10,000s of families that were impacted during the program. And so now the question is, if we talk about something like this, what does it actually mean for us? We need to deep into these results now and understand what the numbers are actually telling us about the qualitative impact on this. And here I would like to travel back from Mount Kilimanjaro to Hamburg. A big drop in altitude here, and give Marco the chance to provide us some insights on the analysis of this, the figures we just heard. Marco, I can't see you right now, but I think you're still with us.
I am still here. Sure, Jesko, yes. I will dive into the qualitative learnings from the CFAT program. So with everything what we've seen and heard from Eutropia and Morgan now, I think it's safe to say that combining the professionalization of farming families with the organizational development of farmer organizations and their capacity building, this is key to achieving sustainable change. The supported farmer organizations are now the platforms for smallholder families to bulk and market their coffee, to access finance, farm inputs, and extension services, and by that realize economies of scale. Through capacity development, the program has generated many facilitators with expertise on the ground on topics like conservation agriculture, organizational development, or good agricultural practices. These experts are still there and will continue sharing their knowledge and expertise with their communities. This is how these farmer organizations became effective forums for farmers' training and sharing of information, adoption of new technologies, or finding solutions to common problems in the communities. Just to point out a few things here, the farmer organizations were linked to service and research institutions, and through farmer field schools, farmers could not only see specific practices or technologies in action, but also had the chance to interact with scientists, private sector representatives, or government extension staff. Through all of these roles, farmer organizations now effectively support their members to becoming more resilient in periods of crisis. They also play an important role in empowering the marginalized parts of their communities, like women and youth, connecting them to goods and service supplies and to markets, promoting social cohesion and integration, and by that, improving their livelihoods and reducing poverty. Furthermore, through the professionalization in farming as business trainings, farmer families have changed their mindsets on entrepreneurial farming and sustainable agriculture, and now have a better understanding of the need to diversify their production systems to become more resilient. They now use the resources that are available to them more productively, more efficiently, leading them to adopt, for example, conservation agriculture, climate smart agriculture, good agricultural practices, so that they can increase production and become more food secure. Yes, thank you. The program has also been very effective, as we heard already today, in empowering women and youth. Through the implementation of the gender household approach, the program has contributed to sensitize couples about gender equality and how gender relations can actually affect household welfare, resulting in higher cooperation between husbands and wives, and more involvement of women in making decisions at the household level. Women are now more empowered to contest for leadership positions in farmer organizations, and at the household level, responsibilities between women and men are shared more equally, and women have a say in decisions about household resources, leading to higher investments and into farm and household welfare. As part of the program, youth have been trained in business skills development, climate smart practices, gender sensitivity and knowledge on sexual and reproductive health and rights, and family planning. They have developed business plans and visions for their lives. Many have developed small businesses already and thus improved their economic opportunities. These young people are now motivated to become drivers to bring about positive change within their communities.
So I think we could wrap up now. No? We have the figures, we have the conclusions, everything, but I think although you draw very clear and understandable conclusions here, and we look at outcomes and outputs, I think one question remains, and what is next? So we all want to develop further, not only Tobias, Luti, and the other smallholder families, but also organizations implementing such programs. And talking about questions, by the way, please do not forget to send your questions in. Still, the Q&A form is available for you. But giving the question first back to Marco now again. So what are your learnings and recommendations here?
Yeah. Exactly. So as an implementing organization, we have been learning over the course of the program, and especially after this evaluation, and we will still use these learnings and insights to adapt and further develop our approaches and think about ways to improve upcoming programs and interventions. I think we think the CFAP program clearly shows that sustainable change is achieved through holistic and long-term programmatic approaches, establishing the structures that will enable farming families to access resources and information directly in their communities. Establishing these structures takes time, however, and requires long-term programmatic thinking, as I understand it. And as well as collaboration of different partners and stakeholders with different expertises to join forces and provide smallholder families and their communities with the relevant tools and skills to sustain their livelihoods. The focus on strengthening of farm organizations is crucial here because they will be the structures that will sustain the connections and linkages that benefit farming families beyond the scope of such an intervention. In the future, we will still continue to focus on farmer organizations, especially supporting their voices to influence positive changes within the sector, for example, in exchange with local government authorities. But we will also increasingly reach out to the young populations in our project regions and address the multiple challenges young people are facing in these countries. We want to continue improving the quality of our youth entrepreneurship training because we have seen and heard from Utopia that these were highly effective. And yeah, we want to utilize the emerging opportunities of youth in coffee growing areas and give special emphasis to youth showing interest in engaging along the coffee value chain, but also exploring opportunities in other sectors and ventures. And review our programs in terms of income generating activities for youth. Mm-hmm. Another important insight, which was stressed in the evaluation report, was that despite the very positive results of the gender interventions, we should further develop gender analysis as an integral part of our program design. I think with further developing our M&E system with respect to gender, the dynamics of gender relations in agriculture can be better understood, and we can effectively adapt our programs in this regard. I think the positive outcomes of the CFAT program also show us that we can achieve meaningful impact even under difficult circumstances, given the challenges due to the pandemic or the difficult political framework conditions in Tanzania at the time. Luckily, these conditions in Tanzania have seen a very positive change now with a new administration in place since March 21, significantly improving the opportunities for large-scale and collaborative development programs in the country.
Okay, thank you, Marco. So that sounds a bit like a wrap-up, and I personally like that you talk about youth a lot, and this focus on youth is really good. So I have been sometimes in Tanzania, not so often, but the youth I met were really strong and inspiring characters. So I think they can really change something. Before we dive into the audience questions, just this last point for you. So now we have the learnings, we have the recommendations. So what comes next for HNS as an organization with all the results, learnings, and conclusions we heard today?
Yes, yeah, exactly right. What comes next? I think looking at all of the partners coming together on this CFAT program, I think it's clear that working together is an effective way to build long-term structures and capacity and have meaningful impact. At HNS, we aim for sustainable change by implementing long-term and holistic programs, increasingly now, as you said, with a special focus on the younger populations in our project regions. I think for this, we must continue building strong partnerships, pool our expertise, create synergies so we can achieve sustainable impact together. And this is what we would like to discuss with you following this webinar. So that being said, if you, the listeners here, are interested to improve the livelihoods of smallholder families and discuss ways to join forces, you're invited to contact and reach out to us. We're looking forward to that.
Okay, thank you, Marco. Some questions came in, so that's a clear statement. And I think the first question I can take directly, coming from, I speak it German now, Gisela, but maybe in English it's a bit different pronounced, sorry. And I think you just answered it, that's why I'm taking it first. How can you scale up and achieve greater impact? And I think that is what you just wanted to point out, Marco, with your last slides or last comments on working in a program together. But another question that's maybe fitting also in here is maybe, and I ask you for brief answers always, please, so that we can answer a couple of more questions. So how difficult is it to bring many partners under one umbrella? Is it a challenge? Marco, maybe best for you.
Yeah, so of course it can be challenging at times bringing many partners together, but then in general, if all of the partners agree on a common goal and objectives, there will always be ways to deal with these challenges. And I think what we have stressed now here is what is important is that by forming partnerships, different perspectives on a certain problem can be brought together and merged into a larger approach or solution.
Mm-hmm. And a question here to Morgan, I think, from Thomas. Morgan, I challenge you. I think you can answer on it. If not, we will promise that we follow up afterwards. So Thomas wants to know, for how long time do you estimate that you will need to support or keep contact with the young entrepreneurs to keep their inspiration going?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. But I would say that depends on a number of factors. The first factor will be the geographical location of the youth. For example, working with the youth here in northern Tanzania was quite different with working with the youth in the southern part of Tanzania. They have different needs, so you need to support them according to their needs. So I would say it depends. So for example, the youth in the southern part of Tanzania, most of them are coming from very remote areas with very low exposure to like new technologies and all that. So for them, it takes some time to take them through the process, the trainings, the mentorship, until they become successful entrepreneurs, I would say. But for example, for the youth that we worked with in the northern part of Tanzania, because they have a lot of exposure to new technologies, digital technologies, you know, so it was actually, it didn't take so much time to support them to become like, you know, successful entrepreneurs and for them to be able to identify business opportunities in different agriculture value chains.
Okay. I want to bring on Utopia once again here. One question, I think it's maybe also not so easy to answer, so please try to keep it short. I'm sure you can answer long. Can you say what you think has been most difficult in the evaluation, and do you think that the data is, yeah, let's say reliable also beyond the program?
I think the evaluation was not very difficult because HRNS, they have a very strong M&E system. So at least it was possible to get the what you call quantitative data, and to triangulate was easy, and because people they are used to interactions and they interact. But it was also challenging that we had two different areas of interventions. Like Morgan is saying, there was south and north, and you have to take different approaches and ask different questions. Don't take things for granted that this is a factor here and it can be a factor on the other area of Tanzania. So there were some challenges in terms of harmonizing our findings, and especially when we were comparing south and north. And there were also different developments in terms of coffee development. So those were the few challenges we met. But in terms of stakeholders, we didn't have any difficulties of getting information from stakeholders.
But I think it's a good, if we take Morgan's answer on the question of the duration that we got before, it's showing quite good that it needs a closer look in every case. Yeah? So it's not this one fits all approach you can do. And even the next question, I think we can connect quite good here as a follow-up question. It's coming in from the first I gave you, Marco. To achieve with more partners, and I ask it, but I think you will also say I think I know the answer, but I don't spoil it. So, do you have some estimates what you could achieve in terms of impact if you had more partners? It's probably the same, and now with it depends on.
Yeah, sure. I think it depends on the partners. It depends on what everyone brings to the table. But I think it's very, very clear that pooling resources and expertise will be helpful, and we will be able to achieve greater impact.
So it's a dialogue. No? You have to get the dialogue started. You need to talk. So sit together, discuss, and the question of what you need to do to achieve it is a question, yeah, what the partners agree on and how they want to work.
Exactly.
But you would agree that it's not just the more the better. It's depends also on how you interact.
Yes, yes, definitely.
Good. A bit more factual question to Morgan also. Do you know if farmer families dropped out after the program ended, or do you check also if they stay members in the farmer organizations?
Yeah, I will answer it in a different way. I remember after the program phased out, then together with the FCG team, we conducted the evaluation. And I think we noted that most of the farm organizations were still there conducting their normal operations, and they still had their own members. And most of these farm organizations were especially the ones which established what we call the internal savings scheme. This is more or less the same as the VSLAs, the Village Saving and Lending Associations. So the establishment of the internal savings scheme actually created a sense of ownership to the farmer groups members. So because these farmers actually invested in these groups, so they will always regularly attend the farmer groups meeting. They will actively participate in the farmer group operations. So I would say to a large percentage, most of these farmers stayed. Yeah.
Okay, but I think you touch a very good point talking about ownership as a key, and I think it's not only in correlation to such a program really key to have the ownership and buy-in of the people to be sustainably with it. And well, great to see that it worked out in CFAT. I would like to ask just one last question, and then happy to hand over back to Guatemala. Eutropia already mentioned the report, but Marco, can you let us know, is the evaluation report public?
No, it's not public, but anyone who is interested in the report can just send me an email, and I will send that report to the person. No problem.
Okay, good. So good. We share your email. I think in the end, Gabi, you have it, I think, prepared. So thank you very much for the question and answers here.
Perfect. Thank you so much to everyone who sent in their questions. We do wish we had more time to answer all of them, but unfortunately we are short with time. And before we say goodbye, I'd like to encourage everyone to scan the following QR code or click on the link sent to you via the chat box to download our CFAT program fact sheet. This fact sheet includes a general summary of the program, key results that were presented during today's webinar, and additional information you might consider interesting. So if you haven't already, make sure you download it. And finally, I would also like, if you would like to receive the latest news from Farmer Stories and stay up to date with network news and project updates from HRNS, you can also join, and you're welcome to join our online community and sign up for our newsletter using the link that's on the screen. Jesko, maybe you can show. There we go. We can now see.
Yeah, I saw Eutropia scanning the fact sheet, so I would switch back for her.
Nice, that's good. Yeah, so please feel free to join our newsletter and sign up. And I'd like to once again thank our special guest and everyone for joining us today. We will be sending a follow-up email in the upcoming days with a link to the recording. And in the meantime, if you have any specific questions or are interested in more information, feel free to get in touch with Dr. Marco Cruz via email. He would be happy to follow up with you bilaterally. And on behalf of Jesko and myself, it was a pleasure to host you today. We hope you continue to have a wonderful day, a morning or afternoon, wherever you are. And we look forward to future conversations. Goodbye, everyone. And thank you
very much. Thank you for your contribution. Bye-bye.